Yeah, we cool. Okay. So, hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly lectures. I'm Becca, and today I'm talking with Alice. Hi, Alice.
Hey, hiya.
Let's start by just giving us a bit of an outline of what you do, and I guess how you got started.
Yeah, sure. So basically, right now, I help creators and I help them eliminate their subconscious procrastination and confidence and money blocks so that they can really turn their businesses around and skyrocket their content into cash, so that they can do that with their own offers. That wasn't what I always used to do. Before I was even a digital nomad, I was a psychologist, and I actually really got into the digital nomad world by becoming a full-time travel blogger. So kind of hence the fusion of what I do now, because I was in the travel blogging industry for 5 years, but then I kind of really started to see people were struggling a lot. So I was like, okay, hang on a minute, I'm going to combine both of these superpowers together. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into the digital nomad world. So it's been 11 years now since I've been traveling. So I got a lot to share. I'm really looking forward to all the questions you're going to ask. And yeah, looking
Yeah,
forward to a good old chat and sharing it all with you. Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. So I guess if we go back to where your journey began with travel blogging, how did you get into that, or what I guess kind of sparked that kind of career for you?
Yeah, so I would say that I definitely caught the wave. Like I started traveling in 2010, and I was just teaching English in different countries, mainly around in Asia, in South Korea, and China, and Vietnam, and Thailand. And it was about by the time of 2015, I was like, hang on a minute, like I've been traveling solo for 5 years as a female, and I've done some pretty adventurous stuff. So I just naturally wanted to start telling stories. And it was a very organic process. I just started writing about things and people liked it. So I kind of suddenly thought, oh, hang on a minute, I could turn this into a business. So I literally did do a complete turn and just transferred from being an English teacher to a travel blogger, and it was the perfect time to do that, really. And yeah, it just got more and more popular, and I turned that into my business. Yeah,
So you started by just kind of traveling for fun and working as you went along. I saw on your website you've done
absolutely.
different types of work to kind of fund your travels, which I
Yeah.
thought was really interesting. If you want to share anything about kind of how you got into those lines of work, or I guess what inspired you to do that.
Sure. I mean, I have always been a bit of a just dive in girl, I have to say. Teaching English was not on my radar at all. But when I was a psychologist, I was on a train. I was going from the north of England to the south, and I met this girl. She just sat next to me. We got talking, and she said, look, I've just got back from teaching English in India. It was amazing. I was just like hooked. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And we spoke for the whole train journey. And by the time I got off that train, I was like, that's it. I quit my job. And I did. I literally left 3 months later. Everybody thought I was mad. But that's how I got into English teaching. I've definitely done some other jobs along the way. When I was living in Shanghai, I was teaching. Yeah, I was teaching English at the time. But then I met a burlesque dancer. And she was like, do you want me to teach you how to do this kind of dancing? I was like, hell yeah, I'd love to learn how to do that. And I was a burlesque dancer for a while, and that was such an amazing insight into Shanghai culture. I had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, I'm definitely a bit of a go with the flow girl. If I have an idea or an opportunity comes up and it's exciting, then I will take it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's a good way to approach kind of working and traveling at the same time as well. There's always opportunities
Absolutely.
that arise as you
Hmm.
go, I guess. So I guess once you had kind of started your travel blog, did you focus mostly on your blog or Instagram? Like what was your kind of I guess outlet for sharing your experiences and your travels?
So I was just obsessed. I mean, obsessed with writing. I was actually telling my partner just a couple of days ago because I've been working quite hard lately. And I said, there was one point where I was crossing the road and I fell asleep like halfway across the road. I remember I was waiting on this, like this little traffic island, and I fell asleep because I was just so obsessed with writing all of the stories that I'd experienced. But yes, naturally, you know, with any kind of business that you build, then you start to go into different avenues. So it was purely blogging, but then I really got into Instagram and I started making videos, but it was just a natural progression. And this is the beautiful thing, right? With the digital nomad world right now, you can build your business in so many different ways. It's just, you know, about really playing on your passions and what you love to do and finding the platform that's the most compatible with that. You have a complete playground to play with, so it's up to you.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, and then when you were kind of building this, I guess, what opportunities did that kind of lead to for you? Were you kind of working with other people? How were you making it sustainable, I guess? Or how did you build your blog into something sustainable? Because I feel like that's quite a popular question people ask. It's very easy to sort of start writing, but it's how you start monetizing that and turning it into a career that can sometimes be challenging.
100%. So this is actually why I do the job that I do now, because a lot of creators come to me, you know, they come with the passion, they come with the skills, they come with the talent, but then when it actually comes to monetizing, they get stuck. Because I find that a lot of creators, they are depending on affiliates, or they're trying to depend on ad revenue, or they're trying to get brand campaigns. And that's what I did. That's how I sustained my business. I was working with big brands on big campaigns. I was getting money from affiliates, and people were asking me to go on TV and radio and be featured in different magazines. So that's how I made my money. But truly, like, the industry has really grown from that point now, and we have way more control in how we can earn our money. And that's why I really stress to creators now, or anyone who wants to be a digital nomad, that you have amazing skills. Like, you have something that someone else doesn't know, and you can create your own offers from that. So that's what I really stress to digital nomads and creators now. You should really start thinking, like, what product can I create, or what service can I give, or what course can I make, because then the control is completely in your hands. So that's what I really favor above any of the other ways that you can make your money.
And I guess that's kind of led into the work that you do now, with your therapy sessions. If you want to, I guess, give us a little bit of background into how you transitioned from being a travel blogger into creating the business that you have now, and kind of the work that you do.
Yeah, so I mean, travel blogging, don't get me wrong, it was an amazing life. It really was. I just did the craziest things and the most exciting adventures, but I really started to see a need along the way where I knew I could really start to provide true value, because I loved writing all of these stories and providing also the information for other people. But at the root of it, I love helping people. So I was finding that a lot of creators, or people who were trying to start their own business, were procrastinating, or they had a lot of fears about showing up online and speaking their thoughts. And they were also just not charging their worth. They were way undervaluing their services, and not asking for the right prices. So that's where I really had this moment of, like, hang on, like, I was a psychologist for 5 years. I've been in this industry for so long. I can totally see the problem.
Yeah.
I combined my superpowers together, and that's when I started to create my services by basically hypnotizing creators to eliminate all of these mind blocks that are holding them back, so that they can create truly sustainable and profitable businesses.
Okay, that's really interesting. And I guess this might sound like a little bit of a weird one, but I always envision, like, hypnotizing as being, you know, kind of a I don't know how to explain, but I think we all have kind of like preconceptions of what a hypnotist and what hypnotizing is. Can you give us a bit more of, like, an example of how, like, one of your sessions would run? Or like, do you, because you still travel whilst you work, is it all done online? Do you do in-person hypnotizing?
Yeah, brilliant questions, and I get it asked all the time. So I promise, like, there is no stopwatch in my pocket right now. Okay. Hypnosis I have to say, is actually an incredibly natural state. You have probably hypnotized yourself today already, okay? And I want to tell you a little bit more about that. So I want you to imagine that you get in your car and you are getting in with your friends, and then you turn the radio on, and you start driving, and you know that you have to go to the supermarket, and you have a little chat with your friends, and you're like playing your favorite song, and before you know it, you are at the supermarket. Now, how did you actually get there? Because you were driving, you were pushing the pedals, like you were changing all the indicators. Basically, you were using your subconscious mind. And hypnosis is about accessing that subconscious mind. And you do that all the time, every day anyway. So you're basically hypnotizing yourself when you drive. And if you love books, you may find that when you're reading sometimes that you're so engrossed in the story, that maybe someone's calling your name or other stuff is going on and you just don't hear it. And that's another form of hypnosis. You're just accessing this other part of you, which runs on autopilot. And that is what essentially hypnosis is. It's not about using the conscious mind. It's about accessing the subconscious, because that is where all of your thoughts and feelings and behaviors are. And once you access that, then you can really start to understand about why you are procrastinating, or why you're fearful of showing up, or maybe why you're fearful of even leaving where you are right now to start your digital nomad journey. So that's why I love hypnosis. It has the answer to everything. I kind of say that hypnosis and your subconscious mind is like the room of requirement. If you are a Harry Potter fan, then you'll know that the room requirement will give you exactly what you seek. And that is what hypnosis is. That's what your subconscious mind has for you. It's quite a long answer, but I hope that makes sense.
It's really interesting. I think it's definitely something, I think people struggle a lot with procrastination and focusing with work.
Oh yeah.
I think especially with digital nomads or remote workers, perhaps where you're working for yourself and you don't have a manager or someone who's giving you deadlines or time frames to work in, and you have to build that yourself. It can be sometimes quite difficult to manage time.
I mean, so much, yeah. I mean, this is the thing with entrepreneurship, or just kind of stepping out the box. Like, as humans, we're not actually built for that. Procrastination is a very much an inbuilt security system, because when we were cavemen, if we stepped out of our community, if we did something out of the box, like there's a chance that we were not going to survive, right? So that's kind of still like hardwired into us. Like, do not leave the 9 to 5, do not do something different to what your family expects, or something like this. I mean, of course, the world is changing very rapidly. I feel that 9 to 5 is just becoming a bit more of an old Dolly Parton song, but it's still within us very much. It's a hardwired safety mechanism. Yeah.
And I guess with your sessions, you're essentially kind of helping people access this part of their mind where they can kind of get over these fears or these anxieties. So I guess on average, how long would it take for someone to kind of, I guess, get over a fear? Can you give us an example of, I mean, obviously you can't share like client details or whatever, but can you give us an example of maybe someone you've worked with or you've seen like a huge change?
Massive change. I mean, massive change. Every client is different. I always say that. I have some clients who literally finish the session and they are changed. But then for other people, they'll notice results maybe a week later, or even like 6 months later. I still get updates from clients that I worked with a year ago saying, you'll never guess what happened. But the results are phenomenal. And the people that I've worked with, I had one guy triple his income in 1 week. I had one guy 5 times his income within 21 days. But that's like big stuff. But even the smallest stuff is just so lovely to hear from my clients. There was one girl, she was so socially anxious. She couldn't even leave the house. I mean, she wanted to travel, you know, but she was so so anxious she couldn't even leave the house. Like the minute we finished the session, she just walked out the door. She walked out the door, she went to the beach, because she lived on the seaside as well. And she just said, that's it. She said, I'm not looking back. So it's always such an exhilarating and adventurous job in itself, because the stories are always so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess, well, how do you find there's challenges doing this remote? Or like, do you think doing the same line of work would be different if you were in a solid location? Or do you think the remote work allows you to kind of develop your skills and work as you go? Like different places kind of
Yeah.
you...
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't actually answer your question that you asked before. So
No, it's
yeah,
okay.
most of my sessions are online. I do
Yeah.
all of my hypnosis via Zoom. But obviously, if I'm in an area, I mean, hey, I work with a lot of creators and a lot of people who travel. So um, I'm very human in that sense, that I do love to just connect and work with lots of different people. So if I am in a particular area and they know that I'm in town, they'll just come and see me face to face. It makes sense to do that. But yeah, I'm a traveler and it's in my blood. And the fact that I can do this job and travel all around the world at the same time is just perfect for me. I'm in Tbilisi right now, but I'm thinking of heading to Egypt next. So what an awesome life. I'm so grateful for that I can do this and travel at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you face with your work being remote?
Good question. Um, Biggest challenge that I face at being remote. So, I mean, it has always been the same thing. Whatever profession that I've been in, I always used to kind of complain to others and to myself. I said, I just want to go down the pub on a Friday and just walk in there and everyone knows who I am. And you know, as a digital nomad, that just doesn't happen, unfortunately. I've definitely learned to balance it over the years. There was one point when I was travel blogging full time that I felt very lost. I did not have a fixed point on my compass. I just didn't know where to go. But I have found now that just traveling a little slower and really diving into the community that I'm in at the time helps immensely. So I would say that's just the biggest problem working remotely. Stability and balance is so important to me, and I'm sure it's important to a lot of digital nomads. So you need to really make the most of the community that you're in and put as much roots down as possible. Because I did find at one point I had this kind of mindset, well, I'm not even going to be here for very long, so what's the point of even trying to form relationships? But I'm so over that. I'm just going to make friends with as many people as I can now and really mean it. Yeah.
And how would you say you find most of your clients? Do you think they're kind of people that you actually meet when you travel around and go to different co-working spaces and things like that? Or do you think people kind of find you online? What would you say is the most kind of like where do most of your clients come from, essentially?
I think it's just the same old since the dawn of time. Word of mouth is massive for me. People, you know, tell other people about what they've experienced, and then word kind of spreads. And I guess what I do is quite unique. I don't know a lot of hypnotherapists who work specifically with creators or with entrepreneurs who are really trying to travel at the same time and all this kind of stuff. So that helps a lot. But you know, I'm always widening my reach. When I first started my business, I purely just got my clients from Facebook and Instagram. That was it. I think I've been in business now for almost 2 years. I literally published my website live today. You know, so I guess that's another thing I want to say. Like, you don't have to have everything in place before you start. Start small, because that's good enough. You know, just start with like one little social media account or something like that. You don't have to have all of these systems in place. You can start now. You don't need everything all up and perfect before you begin.
Yeah, that's some good advice. So we're getting in a few questions from the audience. The first one is,
Cool.
what advice could you give someone to get themselves motivated enough to start their own business? I mean, I think you just covered some of the points of starting small, but is there any more advice you could give to someone?
Well, this is the thing, you're not gonna do anything if you don't have a real why. When I'm working with my clients, I always like go underneath more and more and more. So I say, like, okay, why do you want this? Oh, well, I want money. Okay, but why do you want money? So I can, so I can travel to, I don't know, let's say to Tbilisi. Okay, but why do you really want to travel to Tbilisi? Oh, well, I want to travel there because my roots are there. And okay, well, why is that important? Oh, because it will help me understand more about who I am. So just do this exact same exercise with yourself. You need to think, well, why do I even want to do this in the first place? And then just keep saying to yourself, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? And then you will really start to understand why you need to wake up in the morning. That's my most important advice to you on that one.
Okay. And another question we have in is, so from someone watching, I have an online business, but I'm afraid to take some steps that will really push my business forward. Are there any exercises you can recommend to get past this fear?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is completely my jam. That's exactly what I do. I haven't hit release on it yet, but I do actually have a workshop called the Stop Procrastinating Workshop. And that's going to be perfect for you because it's going to really start to introduce you to the different mind blocks that come up when you are procrastinating and you're a little bit scared about putting yourself forward. So watch this space. If you go to speaktoalice.com, then keep an eye on everything because I will be releasing that workshop really soon, and you'll be able to actually start to understand what is really holding you back.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I was thinking actually if you want to post some of the links on the platform after the talk, I think some people will really benefit from having a look at your website and seeing a bit more about what you've done. Another question for you. What piece of advice would you give to other remote workers or digital nomads that are either starting a business or already working remotely? Is there like an important piece of advice that you'd give to them?
So yeah, I'm going to give a couple of pieces of advice. The first one that I want to really stress, which is not the most important thing for me, but it is important, is strategy. So when people are starting a business or they're going for something new, like the biggest fear is this going to work? Right? We're going to put a lot of time into this. We're going to put a lot of energy into this, and probably some money. So if you are creating something, the most important thing that you need to ask yourself is this something that people need? Is this something that people want? And is it something that people can afford? Okay, especially if you are like really creating a product or a service or a course like something like this, and you really need to ask yourself that, because if people don't want it, if people don't need it, if people can't afford it, then you're not going to get very far. But secondly, in terms of mindset, I found this again and again. You can have the best ideas and the best environment and the best situation, but if you do not believe in yourself, if you do not believe that what you want is available to you, and if you just believe it's never going to work, then it will never work. And that's why I focus so much on mindset. Because some people come to me with all of the tools literally in their hand and it's not working. And once they crack those kind of mind gremlins that are holding them back, then they can just skyrocket forward. So yeah, that's my advice. Make sure that your strategy is in place. Make sure you do your market research, but also really look deep into your own mindset and ask yourself if you think that you're holding yourself back, because you can have a winning formula, but you need to have a winning formula in here too.
I guess on that note, we've just had another question in, and it relates quite well. Do you think that remote work, and especially starting your own business, should be for everyone, or would you advise someone to not pursue this type of career?
I love this question. I don't think it is for everybody. I find there's so many things right now that people can kind of feel pressured into going into. You know, I'm in the coaching world and like I just see it everywhere, like make 10K, make 10K. And I'm like, maybe people don't want to make 10K a month, but you know, you need to really ask yourself what makes you happy. And actually, if like traveling around all the time and you know, having all of this uncertainty in your life at the beginning, especially if you're trying to create something yourself, it's not for everybody. And if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You know, but you know, if you are feeling very adventurous and you want to dive off the cliff and see what happens, then go for it, because life is short. And you know, I've always been that kind of person who really wants to push herself to see what I'm capable of. So if that's in your blood, go for it, because I don't want to be on my deathbed you know, saying I wish I had da, 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 da. So it's not for everybody, but if you feel that it is, then really dive in, because it's a beautiful journey. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
I think it's good to talk
yeah, you're
about these
welcome.
things because I think, you know, it isn't for everyone, but I think if you want to
No,
try it, you should give it a go and get out there.
yes.
Okay, so that comes to the end of our talk today. Thank you very much for
Awesome.
being with me today, Alice. If you want to post your handles and website and stuff on the page for anyone to follow up. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, happy travels, guys. Keep traveling. And yeah, thanks so much. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.